Representative Issa has asked for front-page retraction from the New York Times after the paper ran what some consider a hit piece on the Republican congressman from California. Now, the story accused Issa of using his official powers as the chairman of the House Oversight Committee to enhance his personal business interests. The congressman hit back pretty hard, saying the story was full of errors, citing 13 erroneous statements, and asked the Times to issue the front-page retraction. Let's take a look at the title to begin with. It's entitled, "A Businessman in Congress Helps His District and Himself," written by Eric Lichtblau. You know, Rich, with a title like that, you got to make sure that you get your facts right.
Yeah, well, look, there's an inherent disparity in these kind of cases because they put you on the front page with a headline, and then they correct it, in agite type practically right on page A2. And if this has just been a story saying, look, he's unusual for a congressman because he's a businessman with various interests, that would be one thing. But as the headline suggested, they said outright that he was working to benefit his own business interests. And two of the examples they had for this were just flatly wrong.
I want to go to one example of it. The New York Times wrote this about a piece of property that Issa purchased. Quote, "The congressman bought the complex in 2008 soon after securing the first of two earmarks for the 2-mile project and unsuccessfully seeking millions more. The assessor's office now values the complex at $16 million, a 60% appreciation." Well, it turns out it wasn't true. Issa fired back with the following. The property in question was not purchased for $10.3 million, as the New York Times reports, but for $16.6 million. The appreciation is roughly zero.
I mean, right, they got it wrong. I have to say this about Eric Lichtblau, the reporter. He is an extremely meticulous, thorough reporter. I'm very surprised that some of these facts
Well, he
as
said
wrong
that
as
the New York
are.
Times said that piece of information came from the San Diego County Assessor's Office.
That's not an excuse, Al.
They're explaining where the information came from.
The truth is always a defense, but erroneous information that you got from sources you trust is not.
No, I'm not, but they made the correction, but they said here's where the information came from.
Here's the question. Should they retract the story and not just offer
I think they're in the
correction?
Slow motion taking back pieces of it. But just to help Judy along, I think he should be called a formerly known, meticulous, and careful reporter, not a currently. I think the Issa communications operation has done a great job of this, and they even caught, most interesting of all, an alleged incidence of plagiarism by Lichtblau against a fellow named Lee Fang, who works for the Center for American Progress, a liberal think tank, who tweeted out himself. This is Lee Fang tweeting out about Lichtblau. By the way, a lot of your story looks familiar because I had it first. Now, those are serious allegations that the New York Times ought to investigate, although something tells me they're not going to.
Rich, it begins in the very first paragraph of the story. I'll quote it. "Here on the 3rd floor of a gleaming office building overlooking a golf course," it goes on and on. Well, the San Diego Union Tribune shot the video afterwards. There's no golf course. It overlooks a busy highway. How could the New York Times be this irresponsible?
Well, I think they have it out for Issa, and this reporter just obviously wasn't careful enough. Again, the thrust of the story is that Issa is corrupt. And if you've put that on the front page and played it with the big headline, you have a responsibility to take it back.
Yeah, the Times public editor is now investigating, Alan. Do you think it should be a retraction of the story?
I don't know if you're retracting. They should retract specific things in the story that they found to be wrong. And that's, at least, you have to hand it to the Times. They have a public editor. They have someone who does due diligence on the publication. And they have retracted it 3 times, 3 pieces so far, maybe more to come.
But are they retracting the facts they got wrong or the premise of the story, which is what is so damaging to this congressman?
Exactly. And let's talk about the premise here, and also the context, and that is that Issa is investigating the Obama administration. He has the job that Henry Waxman, the sort of Naderite congressman from California, once had. And the left is fully aware that if Issa pursues a gangster government agenda against Obama, Obama has trouble. And so they're trying to take him out, and the New York Times is happy to be part of that
You think the New York Times is consciously protecting Obama by doing this?
Yes, I do.
You think this is a conscious effort? They've had an editorial meeting and said,
effort to say
we're going to do a smear job on Issa to protect the President of the United States.
Issa and his subpoena power represent a real threat.
Right, but there's no evidence that the New York Times is purposely smearing somebody for the purpose of protecting the President.
I didn't say there's evidence. I said I think.
All right. We'll leave it at I think.